Hello, welcome to our session with creators of international narrative web series. Lovely to have you all here. We're quite a big panel, so we'll try and kind of keep things ticking along. Cam, who is representing Swiping Right, has to leave, and that's our fault, not his, because we've ended up delaying this session. By 30 minutes. Apologies for that, and apologies to Cam, but we will favour him a little bit in the first part of the conversation so that when he's gone, we can all say rude things about him. So um, it's lovely to have you all here. We've got quite a mix this session of people who sort of been with us before, either with productions that are continuing or with uh, productions that are new, but the creators have been here before. So mix and match really. Lovely to have you all here. I'll go round the room and ask you to give the quick intro to yourself and your project rather than speak on your behalf. And then we'll sort of get into the chat. So and given that there's quite a lot of us, let's sort of try and keep it reasonably concise, and then we won't run horribly over, and our audience will all drift away and wonder what's happening. So, Cam, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. Hi, my name's Cam Fall. I'm director, writer, actor, producer, Swiss Army knife of a series called Swiping Right. In season 2 is in this festival, and it's sketch comedy on online dating and face-to-face dating and the perils within.
Excellent. So we had the first series of that back in 2019, which I think is an indication of how much things have changed in the world since then. That it's taken 5 years to get to season 2, but well done for getting there. Eleanor, do you want to tell us a little bit about you and Rosemary Street?
Hello, I'm Elena Moscat. I'm the creator, writer, director, producer, one of the producers of Rosemary Street. It's a series filmed in Baltimore. It's about teenagers, rock stars, and neighbors. And it's a different point of view of what Baltimore, Maryland's like.
All right, thank you. Tony, we can come to you.
Hello, I'm Tony Rudetsky, based in Sydney. I am the director and producer of Fanny Scat Investigates, about a drag queen detective, starring Trevor Ashley.
Thank you. Craig.
Hi, I'm Craig Selbrady. I created Hurt, which is kind of this season, season 3 was kind of a romp through these different genres as a gay autistic man kind of came to terms with his suicidality.
Right, thank you. Ravi.
Hey everybody, I'm Ravi Steve. I'm the writer director of I Will Bear You. I'm coming from Toronto, Canada today, and our series is about two brothers who are carrying out their mother's final wishes, which is to scatter her ashes in the places that she loved, although they have no idea where that could be.
All right, thank you. Marushka.
Hi, I'm Rushka. I'm the writer producer of Get Up Aisha, also from Toronto, Canada, and it's a dramedy about an overachieving depressed person. Fun.
Okay, thank you. Leon.
Hi, my name is Leon Chio, and I'm the writer, director, and creator of People Like Us, season 3. And it's about four gay men finding love, sex, and everything in between in Singapore. I'm actually currently based in LA, and the series is shot in the US. The series is shot in Singapore.
Okay, thank you. And Sally.
Hi, I'm Sally McLean. I'm the creator, writer, director, everything for Dark Arcadia, which is whichever side of me here, which is a spin-off from my original web series, Shakespeare Republic, based here in Melbourne, in Australia. Dark Arcadia is a gothic fairy tale set in an Australian high school that deals with the issues with the gender divide and various other stories and politics, etc., from current day, and features a lot of some past members of Shakespeare Republic and a whole new swathe of young actors, all performing Shakespeare, all written in Shakespeare's language, but mixed together to tell a brand new story.
All right, thank you. Okay, let's let's dive in a bit to the why, really. Kind of nobody really has one idea most of the time. So there's I'm guessing there's something about this idea that you pursued all the way to a web series, and in some cases to more than one season of a web series. So what was it about the strength of that original idea that elevated it above all the other stuff that's in your mind at the time, and makes you really want to push forward and make it happen? Cam, we'll start with you again, please.
That's a good question, is the why, because that was certainly a question hanging over our heads when we were making the second season, because it was shot partly during 2021, I think in August of 2021, and we got 2 days into a 10-day shoot and then went into lockdown, I think the longest lockdown of the whole lot. And so the question of why was hanging over my head the whole time. Like, why do I want to? Because we did, we had 8 episodes to shoot. We've only done 1 episode and maybe bits and pieces of some others. And so when I was just lying in bed in the fetal position and during the whole lockdown, kind of thinking, why do I want to go back in it? And so, I mean, what it was here in Melbourne, we had such an oppressive kind of feeling lockdown. And the why for me was, well, our series, if you distill it down, is about human connection, and it's about love, and it's about laughter. And I felt like we all really needed those things at that time. And so that was the thing that kept my why going, was, laughter has always been such a medicine for me and for my family and for my friends. And so I just felt like, well, if I can get some laughs by completing this series and kind of give that as a gift back to people to share with that, I think that's a good thing. And also, oddly enough, and I'm sure creators would agree with this, is having such a long pause as well. I felt myself going maybe a little bit crazy of just the vision of the whole show, of these characters, of these scenes, and we put so much work into it right up until the shoot. And the vision itself wouldn't leave me alone. I was still editing it in my mind, even though we hadn't shot stuff, and I just had to kind of get back to doing it. I love the characters, I love the show, and I just felt it was going to do some good. So yeah, that was my why.
Okay, thank you. Sally, you were also in Melbourne for that horribly long lockdown. Were you moving forward with Dark Arcadia at that time? Was it sort of in your mind? I know that you were doing Shakespeare Republic, but had Dark Arcadia had its genesis by that point?
Yeah, actually, Dark Arcadia was a project that was originally on the brink of being commissioned in 2019. So well before COVID did the whole thing it did to the world. But unfortunately, when I turned in the script, the particular organization that was looking to do it didn't have the money anymore. So the whole thing got shelved. I went on to do the third set, because then of course we had COVID lockdown. So did the third season of Shakespeare Republic. Also then did the first season of Walking Shadows at the time that Cam was talking about, during that lockdown of 2021, which was the student version of Shakespeare Republic. But Dark Arcadia just kept sitting there. The reason, my why for that, as I've said many times, I know you've heard me say this before, Keith, but it's true for this project too. I treat everything that I do as an experiment. It's, can I do that? Can we do that? What happens if we do that? It means we bring our A game to everything that we do, but we try to take the pressure off ourselves about getting it right, if that makes sense. It's more about being true to the story. And in this case, it was a case of going, can we take all these different elements of different Shakespeare plays, which there are 7 Shakespeare plays, take these scenes and these characters and create this new story without changing his dialogue, just changing the actual elements to make this new story using his original text to say something about the world today, which is what all of my Shakespeare stuff's about. It's using Shakespeare to talk about the world today. And in this case, it was really, I kind of, it was not necessarily Me Too per se that drives the story, but there are definitely elements of that in the story. And I just kind of, yeah, I kept feeling that it was something that I wanted to make a statement about to the world, but also, again, back to the mission, or not mission, that sounds terribly, oh my goodness, so arrogant. back to the desire to play with Shakespeare in that way, which was also to say, he wrote some stuff. And again, we've got scenes in Dark Arcadia that are word for word Shakespeare. We haven't played with them. We haven't edited them. That could have been something you would have seen in any drama on Netflix. Written, a year ago or 2 years ago, whenever, in the current day. So yeah, it was a case of, can we experiment and play with this? Really, Dark Arcadia also is a little bit of a sandbox for season 4 of Shakespeare Republic. So that was also the other why.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Let's stay in Australia and tick off our last Australian. So, Tony, when did Fanny Scat Investigates come into being?
Well, I was going to say thank you, Sally, for making Shakespeare so accessible to me. I really enjoyed it, so thank you. Yeah, Fanny Scat. I mean, Chris, I should say, wrote the script a couple of years ago in a kind of changing face of the kind of queer scene in Sydney. And we saw Oxford Street change over the last 10 years, and Oxford Street is like a big kind of representation of Sydney and the LGBT community. And things are shifting, and we had this character of that played by Trevor Ashley, like I said, of a drag queen who's in his 40s and kind of losing his audience potentially, and wanting to kind of hold on to this tradition of drag. And so on the face of it, yes, it's a funny kind of queer John Waters-esque comedy about this drag queen, doing what he does to solve mysteries. But on the other side, it's about this person kind of rediscovering himself and kind of finding meaning in what they're doing as well, what their lives mean. So yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Leon.
The series is funded by Action for AIDS in Singapore, which is a nonprofit that was started when AIDS was an epidemic. And in 2014 was when we made the first season. Obviously, we're not like regular TV shows, so we don't make seasons every year. And then COVID happened in between seasons 2 and 3. I think for me, season 3 came about because I asked for it. And also we have fans who were asking for it. It ended on a tragic cliffhanger, and I think people wanted to know what will happen to the characters, and I think it took maybe COVID and some time to just really think about what kind of stories I could tell with a new season, and turns out I did. So I asked for some funding, and they raised some funding, and we managed to shoot it just last year.
Okay, thank you. Elena.
Hey, so Rosemary Street is essentially my love letter to Baltimore. I worked in The Wire, and I worked in We Own the City, and I worked in Homicide and all those shows. And everyone always knows of Baltimore in one way, and the same neighborhoods. We film in the same neighborhoods all the time. And I've lived in Baltimore my whole entire life since I was 1, I was born in Cincinnati, but I came here when I was 1. So, Charles Village is a beautiful area. It's a wonderful community. And there's lots of other beautiful neighborhoods in Baltimore. So I wanted to kind of show that off. And I wanted to do something light and kind of like a Glee, One Tree Hill type of show. And to show that Baltimore can do other things, not just the crime dramas and stuff like that, even though they're wonderful and stuff, but I wanted to do that. And also in 1998, I created a show called Jamie's Way. And so this is actually a spinoff. So I wanted to kind of take those characters from the 1998 project and kind of bring them back to life as adults, as well as it's a spinoff with Uncle Asher, Jamie's rock star uncle. So that's also why I wanted to bring it back.
Okay, thank you. Ravi.
I created the show with 2 other people, Sergio DeZio and Colin Glazer, and it was really born out of a desire to work together. And then we were just trying to find something that was really relevant to us in our lives and something as personal as possible. And the one thing we all sort of realized is that we were all at that point in our lives where we were just seeing our parents age in front of us, and we were becoming the caregivers to them. And it's just so hard to do it because you're just so completely unprepared. It's coming. And then when it happens, you have no tools for it. And I found that hilarious for some reason, just to fumble through one of the most difficult things in life, which is to become the parent to your parents. And we made a short film called This Is Not a Drill, based on these themes, and it just did really well. And we thought, wow, we're just scratched the surface on this, and so we just started digging. and digging and digging. And the deeper we got, the deeper the material got, and the more hilarious it got too, strangely. And so we just kept going.
Excellent. All right. Craig.
So, I had been trying to make a web series happen for a long time because I did a kind of half web series in high school and I really enjoyed it. And I just kept trying and things kept getting in the way, like COVID, mostly COVID. But, I'm doing this as a 22-year-old. I have no budget, no experience. So I ended up going with Hurt because it was honestly the cheapest idea I'd had, which was just doing something based on my experience with mental health. And everything I'd done before that had been like sci-fi fantasy. And I was like, this isn't working. I need to lock in. I need to do something that I can do for $0. And so that's how Hurt came about. And then I was really surprised because it resonated with a lot of people, a lot younger of a crowd than I was hoping for. It was not great seeing all these like 11 to 17-year-olds being like, oh, this series about suicide really means a lot to me. I was like, oh, that's kind of concerning, but I hope it helped. And so I kept going, and season 3 was a little bit different because we lost the co-lead. So we kind of had to dive really deep into my character and do all these really different things. Like every episode's a different genre. The first episode's a mockumentary, the second episode's horror. And so it was just kind of also a fun experiment. And that's how that one came about.
Okay, thank you. Marushka.
Yeah, for us, I think, because I co-created the show with Rabia Mansoor and Nisha Khan. And we started off in a writers group as like emerging writers just trying to, make it in Toronto, Canada. And it started like how all good things start, with a funding deadline that we had in a week. So we were just like, let's just put something together. And it was COVID. So the thing that we were all feeling was depressed. So you're like, hey, let's channel that into the show. But then we also wanted to make it very specifically about this Pakistani Canadian family, but also not make representation the story, but have it be baked into the world and into the show. And something that we all found really fascinating was this idea of someone dealing with something so heavy, but then they're high achieving at the same time, they're overachieving at the same time. And I think a lot of Asian cultures, especially South Asian cultures, that is the norm. You can go through whatever the hell you're going through, but to everyone else, it should look that you're killing it. And we just wanted to explore that. So that's where the idea came about.
Okay, thank you. Hey, Cam, I know you've got to go. Have you got time for one more answer before you slide on out?
One more would be perfect.
All right, excellent. Well, I want to talk about audiences. I mean, I would imagine that sort of wherever we are, we're all experiencing that thing of audiences fragmenting, becoming smaller, becoming harder to find, especially if you work in sort of the more traditional end of television and film production. But what are you doing to make sure, or try to make sure, that Swiping Right ends up in front of the people that you want it to reach?
Great question, really tricky question for me as well, because I've got to be honest and say that social media and that kind of thing is not my skill set. And I feel like that's really where you need to become a jack of all trades. I mean, a lot of this does fall on my shoulders in terms of promoting it and everything like that, and financing it and all those things. I feel like I'm trying to spin so many plates, and I wish I had octopus arms, but I don't. So I feel like I've got a reasonable sense of what our audience is, and I hope it's engaging with where it is. Well, I mean, Web Series Festival is one way to get it out there. And then, I mean, that's been really good, and just meeting other creators and then sharing each other's work and building on that audience. But, I'm sure someone else in here that's way more savvy than me is going to have a better answer, because I feel like even though throwing the series out there onto YouTube and using that as the platform, I feel like that's sort of the space for it in terms of an audience, even though there's lots of people out there doing tutorials on how to make an awesome salad and stuff like that. I feel like that was just a place to put the series. And sometimes it does feel like you're just putting a teardrop in the ocean, and it's just kind of, too late to sort of find an audience. But I just feel like, you do have a core audience of, top fans, or whatever you want to call them, that do genuinely love the show and they finance the first series. So I try and look at those people as the audience. I know what they found funny. I know that they enjoyed it. And I feel like I try to serve those people. They actually genuinely came up to me or emailed me or spoke to me online and said how much they enjoyed this character or that character. So I just made sure those characters were served. And if they did even, invest a little bit towards a particular character or for a particular character or a reason, they wanted to see the evolution of those characters. So I made sure that those characters were served and that kind of thing. And even in the financing model, some of them had the opportunity to name characters or put their name in the show. So I guess all you can do is serve your top fans, the ones that are kind of cheering for you. And that's how I approached it really in terms of audience.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you for being with us.
No problem. I best go, guys. Love your work. Fantastic stuff. Thanks for doing what you do. And you're all very inspiring. Love your work. Have a great panel and look forward to seeing you soon. Ciao.
All the best. All right. Hey, Leon, you spoke a little bit about coming to this third season because there were fans were wanting to know more about some of those characters and what happened to them. How do you connect with them? Is there anything kind of any Singapore specific networks that you use, or are you sort of taking a broader approach than that?
Definitely a broader approach. I basically screenshot all the comments in YouTube for people asking for like another season to justify another one. I mean, I am remiss to say that I forgot to mention that in Singapore that there's no LGBT characters on TV, so that's why it's a web series. And with the web series, it allows us to like reach people that we cannot reach. And we do have a lot of regional fans as well, from like Malaysia or Indonesia, where being gay is basically illegal and can get you killed. So there are people who would just like post and say like, "Oh, I love the show, and I'm from I know some place and everything." I feel like with season 3, like our audiences have also like disappeared or like grew older, and it's like so many years have passed. And also I think a lot of people have maybe not really used YouTube as much. And I think I would say there is a drop in like viewership and audience engagement based on the past 2 seasons. And also we used to just promote on Facebook, which nobody really uses anymore, just because of the algorithm. But then for season 3, we started like an Instagram page, which is basically where I think a lot of people are on, at least to help with promotion and things like that. But yeah, all I know is just comments from YouTube and just based on the numbers that we see publicly. Yeah, there's just so much competition now, especially with even with like queer content that people can get it from Netflix and everywhere else. So it's almost like, oh, what's special? And I think what's special is just that the show is from Singapore and people appreciate that.
Okay, thank you. Ravi.
Yes. To be honest, we got kind of lucky. Our audience sort of found us, but I think there was a couple of things at play there. One, we're comedy, pretty broad at times. And I think if you're in a genre like that or a horror or something like that, there's sort of a built-in audience there. That and the subject matter that we have is just it's not talked about a lot, but there's a huge audience for it. There's something about like 27% of Canadians that are about to become the sole caregiver for a parent or a grandparent. And the numbers in the States I know are like even higher. So there was already a built-in audience. And we released on YouTube initially. And who knows how that magic algorithm works, but it just caught on for us really quickly. I think we've done 8 episodes overall, and we were at about 1.8 million views for the series. And when things were picking up, we ended up hiring 6 of 1 Digital. They're a Canadian company that really helped sort of find our audience and try to generate that, views into like actually engaged viewers who care about the series and are commenting and want to know more. And I honestly have no idea what magic they do, but they were able to really help with that. So I guess the one thing I would say is find the experts that know how to do this stuff, because filmmaking is hard enough without having to do all parts of it sometimes.
Do you monetize on YouTube, or is it just the platform where you put it out there?
No, no ads. My goal really was, when we first released, I wanted everywhere to anyone for free at all times. We're behind a paywall now. The first 2 are still available on YouTube. But yeah, I wanted it free and available to everyone for free at all times. And I didn't want anything to interrupt them. When you're on YouTube, for myself, if there's an ad, sometimes I can't even wait the 15 seconds, you know, and I didn't want anything. I wanted people locked in and watching all the way through. I was terrified that we'd get huge numbers on the first one and then it would just die. But we've managed to sustain, which I'm so happy and proud of, but terrified in the early stages that it wouldn't work.
All right, thank you. Marushka?
Yeah, this is a bit of a tough one because I will say, similar to Ravi, I think our audience found us. They didn't find us in those numbers, but they did to some extent. And we are on CBC Gem, which is Canada's broadcaster. And the Gem platform doesn't really do well with with paid ads and like stuff like that. So it's been like a learning curve on how necessarily to like reach the right kind of audience. It doesn't even have the audience that we're looking for anyway. So I think for us, what we've been trying to do is more targeted like community screenings that we do in places that have more brown people, stuff like mental health, like conferences, especially for like youth. So we do like targeted screenings that way, hoping that if you get a glimpse of the series there, that then you will like, transfer that to Gem to like watch it there. And then we are planning like a more robust like YouTube strategy next year once CBC's like exclusivity deal runs out. And then who knows? It's hard. I wish I had any sort of idea of what the hell we're doing. We don't. And like we just make it and we hope someone watches it is my answer to this. So
okay. Tony.
Yeah, I mean, with Fanny Scat Investigates, we're fairly new on the journey, so we haven't released it broadly yet. So I'm intrigued to see how it's received. But I can speak to, I guess, the festival audience, and primarily web series as well as kind of queer festivals have received it, well. Chris and I, the writer, we'll go to festivals, queer festivals in particular, and there's comedies that are usually kind of average sometimes and show guys with their tops off, like it's all about kind of baiting and getting people in to watch. And there wasn't kind of just good, funny comedy that's broad. They can bring in a mainstream audience, but also specific, And for us, Fanny Scat was that key. And it's interesting the responses we've gotten, particularly from mainstream festivals, really receptive to Fanny Scat. And maybe it is because it's quite broad and it allows you in, but there's a bit of heart there still. It definitely is not shying away from leaning into the kind of absurd stuff, but there's something at the center of it that I think connects people, it is human, and so, yeah. So yeah, the web series festival is what we've done so far. So who knows what will happen, I guess, with the mainstream stuff later.
Okay, Elena.
So we actually aren't officially launched. So the web festivals have definitely helped. The other thing is we use a lot of social media. So we're on all the different platforms. And also our actors really help because our actors have fans that bring in people. We have Johnny Alonso, who was on Dawson's Creek and One Tree Hill. He has a huge following. He brings people in. Parajita and Kike were on The Voice. And so they bring people in. And we're about to have Christopher Williams, where we filmed him already. So he's already bringing people in. And then we have a 12-year-old rapper named Little JJ. And he's actually in the 4th and 5th episodes. And he's bringing in a lot of people. So by social media and the actors promoting, that's helped us a lot. And we'll be launched before Christmas for the first 3 episodes. So we'll see after that. And then the festivals have also helped. All the festivals have helped.
Okay, when you say you launched those 3 episodes before Christmas, where are they going to?
They're going to be officially on our website and on YouTube. And we actually have Vimeo as well, but we're going to pretty much be on YouTube and on our website as well.
Okay, thank you. Craig.
So, like I mentioned, going in, I had no idea what I was doing. So it was a lot of trial and error. But we are on YouTube. We don't get great numbers there. And I think part of that is because, starting off, we didn't know what we were doing. There were some technical issues with the first season. So we ended up with 2 kind of major sources of audience. One is TikTok, which I know is kind of a cliche, you know, Gen Z TikTok, but it found a huge portion of people, and I mean, not all of it was organic, I will say that. I did invest some once it started catching on into TikTok, into their promote feature, but there was a lot of organic stuff too, and that came from a lot of buzzwords, which is kind of reductive, but we kind of had to boil down the series to it's like Heartstopper, because Heartstopper was trending at the time, so we had to draw that comparison, and then just the fact that the word Heartstopper was there drew in a ton of people, which was again reductive, but it got the job done. And then just the nature of saying this has an autistic person in it, this has gay people in it, has trans people in it, using those words got it in front of people on TikTok. And then the other platform is that there's this streaming service, Spark TV, with 2Ks. It's not like the biggest streaming service out there, but what's interesting is that Hurt has done really well on it. It's become one of their bigger shows, and a bunch of people on TikTok found us and said, "Oh, we found you through Spark, and then we found your TikTok." Like, it wasn't the other way around like usual. And someone actually said, "Oh, we watched this from like places where being LGBT isn't allowed on screen." And so it's all censored. So we watched stuff like Spark TV instead, and that's how we found your show. So that's kind of how the Hurt audience came together.
Okay, thank you. Sally?
Gosh, I'm hearing so many interesting pathways. Look, our audience, I mean, obviously, Shakespeare's very niche. So our audience, interestingly, our audience are actually Gen Z, the large part of our audience. We actually think, because all the stuff's on YouTube, that it's actually kids that are Googling their homework and finding people, oh, someone's doing Shakespeare differently, I'll go watch that, which is totally fine by me, and I hope they keep doing it. But we essentially, the way we did have, I mean, for Dark Arcadia, even though it's been out now for a few months, we're still looking, we're on YouTube at the moment with that. I personally do not think that YouTube and drama work as a combination, and I've thought that for quite a long time. I think YouTube and comedy work because it's something people can be flipping through their recommended videos, see a comedy sort of, you know, thumbnail, and if it's only short too, which web series usually are, oh great, I'll watch that, and that's how they can get hooked into it. I think for drama though, unless you've got a face they recognize or it's a subject they're really interested in, I don't know that it's the best medium to be broadcasting, but we don't really have any other options unless we're doing 30 seconds or whatever a minute on TikTok. So we still have it on YouTube. What I found interesting, to hark back to Shakespeare Republic, is putting season 3 of Shakespeare Republic on Facebook Watch, which was just something we toyed with. We had thousands and thousands. I can't remember, it was something like 30-odd thousand views of the series there, until Facebook decided to put the ban on Australian media because there was this huge political back and forth. And for some reason, they decided Shakespeare Republic was a media company, which we weren't. And our entire Facebook was taken offline, which absolutely blew my mind, which is why I'm loath to just now have it on the one platform anywhere, because unfortunately you are not in full control of that. So we are going to put Dark Arcadia on Facebook next year just to see what happens, because the other end of the spectrum for our audience viewers demographics is the over 35s, and obviously quite a few are still on Facebook. So that's where we're going to go. But the really big thing is the festival circuit, as others have said, is really helpful to get some awareness for the project. I have a lot of people that come into our audience sphere who have either seen something on social media from one of the festival's advertising who's in the lineup and got captured by the title or realized it was Shakespeare and wanted to look further. We also did crowdfunding, which we've done for pretty much every single series and work that we've done. In Dark Arcadia's case, we're also very, very lucky to get government grants. So we had money from Creative Victoria, money from the City of Melbourne, also money from the British Shakespeare Association, bless them. And then we had crowdfunding. So we have those very loyal fans that Cam was talking about as well. There's very loyal fans who put money towards making the series, who are also really good ambassadors for the series. So that's the other way we tend to find audience. People share it either on their own socials, saying, you know, I put money into this, come and have a look at it, or I donated or whatever. And also crowdfunding can also help with spreading the word, because people will say, I've donated, how about you? Here's the project. So you can almost build an audience prior to launch if your crowdfunding works the right way for marketing too. But for us, look, it really comes down to the subject matter, the platform. For us personally, we're so niche. We're trying all sorts of things. Luckily, also because it's Shakespeare, the academic world has very much embraced what we're doing, which I'm incredibly grateful for. So that means that we're getting a lot of traction in the US and a lot of traction in the UK. Funnily enough, in the Australasian region, take it or leave it, but over in the UK and the US, we're doing actually really well with the audience. So you just don't know where your audience is. You kind of, as people were saying, audience will find you, but if you get an idea of where they might be and can meet them halfway, which is what we've ended up doing, and just grab every opportunity is my best advice, to be able to get the word out there and to talk to people about what you're doing. Enthusiasm is catching. And social media is a great way to actually promote things. But again, find which platform your people are on, because that's, again, all social media platforms, they're all different. For us, it's Instagram and Facebook. It's still those two places where we get most of our traction. But yeah, look, it's a tough call. It's the big question. Where are the audiences? You know, it's harder. But I do think the more niche you are, as others have said, the more likely you are to find your audience, because there are a lot of people on this planet. And if you're doing a very specific thing, you're going to find there are people that are looking for that kind of content. It's just a matter of, throwing it all out there until they start appearing. And then you know where to put your efforts and where to concentrate. That would be my advice.
Yeah.
Working it out. Who knows? We're still working it out. But that would be my advice. Yeah.
I think everybody's still working it out. I went to I can remember being at a games conference about more than 10 years ago in now, and one of the speakers there was talking about the joys of what was in that stage still a reasonably young thing of the Apple Store, and how that was revolutionizing game content, because it suddenly, you didn't have to make a disc and you didn't have to ship it anywhere. And for creators in our part of the world, you know, New Zealand, Australia, who are a long way from those larger audiences, that kind of the ability to reach people online had become pretty much a game changer. And that's I can remember the speaker saying, you know, kind of, however niche you are, you know, if you can't find 100,000 people who are interested in what you're doing, you're just not trying. And I think these days the trying is a little bit more expensive than it was back then, because the social media platforms have learned how to take money off you as well as share it with you. But one of the things about what a lot of people do with their web series is that they're not necessarily paying the rent, and they're not kind of keeping you in the style to which you would love to become accustomed. So I'm going to give you all in a second the opportunity to sort of promote yourselves and anything else that you're up to. I'm going to jump in first and say that as far as NZ Webfest is concerned, we close fairly soon. If you're watching this live, if you're not watching this live, we might have already closed. But if you're watching this before the end of the 11th of November, nzwebfest.co.nz is where you'll be able to find all the shows that this wonderful panel has been talking about. So do dive along there and take a look. If again, if you're seeing it live, our awards are tomorrow and at 11 a.m. New Zealand time, which is whatever time wherever you are. Then we'll be handing out gongs to several different categories of international web series, both factual and narrative, like this one. And I'm going to shut up there, because I think that's good enough, really. I think if people want to find us, they will find us. Tony, what else are you up to?
What else? Writing, always writing, and feeling like there's never enough time. And then when I'm writing, I'm feeling like I'm not doing enough. and I'm having a block, and I'm having a block for 2 weeks to try to get back on track. Yeah, just developing work. So I've got a couple of features that I'm writing in a TV series called Risen that we got a bit of development funding for. It's a sci-fi series. And coming up for Fanny Scat, we're screening at Stareable in LA in December. And I was thinking of going, and then the election happened. I'm questioning that, that choice. But and thank you, Keith, as well for screening Fanny Scat as well, and thanks to all the web series festivals. And I'm so inspired hearing all these stories, but also like we haven't released broadly yet, so just listening to your kind of advice around that is really, really helpful. So I guess look forward to seeing Fanny Scat out there more broadly for audiences soon.
Okay, thank you. Leon, what are you up to? Oh, you're muted.
Well, for money, I write corporate videos. I'm also doing this thing that's kind of popular right now called vertical dramas, which are like soapy little things that are shot, everywhere, even in the US or even in Europe, and I'm sure in Australia too. Super low budget things. But they pay people to direct and to do creative things. So it's quite an interesting format, quite different from, I think, what we aspire to do, but it's something that a lot of people do to make money. At the same time, queer stories are always something that I'm always going to be dipping my toes into. So I am working on actually a non-scripted documentary feature with a friend right now about Asian American gay OnlyFans creators. So basically they make porn. So that's something that keeps me busy as well. And we're just sort of shooting, we're funding, we might crowdfund, we might start an OnlyFans to crowdfund. It's just my next thing right now.
Okay, thank you. Marushka.
Yeah, so Rabi, Anisha, and I are forming our own production company, and running a production company is a lot. Let's start there. So we're like figuring all of that stuff out, and we have our next project called Bad Accountant, which is a half-hour like crime comedy about a dumb accountant with ADHD who accidentally joins the mafia. And it's based on my life a little bit, so we're like developing that. We got a lot of really great support from some Canadian funders to like make it into a half hour, and it's currently in development with the network. So we're right now writing the half hour. We're also developing it as a feature. So we're doing both, out there trying to sell the stuff, and hopefully something goes.
Fingers crossed. All right, thank you. Ravi.
Yeah, my bread and butter is as a TV writer, mostly in the series stuff, half-hour stuff. But the thing I consider myself a filmmaker. That's what I love. That's where I spend most of my time. This project is done well enough that we've partnered with a production company called Incendo. They're out of Montreal, and we're developing it into a half-hour series called Please Fucking Die. And it's just going out to the broadcasters soon, this week probably, or next week probably. So let's hope that people love it.
All right, thank you. Craig.
So I have some books that are going to come out within the next year, because that's the other thing I do is I write books. Other than that, it's hard because I have a lot more I want to do with Hurt, with the universe, but like with everyone else, it comes down to money, and I haven't found money. My crowdfunding has not been as successful as I would have liked, and I feel like I'm hitting a point where I want to be able to put more in to get a better product. So for me, it's going to be some time to kind of like learn a bit, work on other people's things, and try to get into a place where I can come back to this and make it happen in a way that's a little bit more professional and a little bit more cohesive. So, but I do have books coming out. I'm still going to be promoting Hurt. I'm still going to try to do stuff where I can, but that's where I'm at.
Okay, thank you. Sally.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was interesting actually with my other series, Walking Shadows, which was commissioned by a drama school. So that actually did pay me a wage. That was amazing, to make any money out of the web series world that's not involving a network or something. So that's now finished, unfortunately. So I've gone back to web design and graphic design, which is the two things I do as a day job. And also I'm an actor. So that is actually, I do have an agent, I do actually, it's why I got into web series in the first place as a writer director, was also to help with the acting. So luckily I've got a couple of acting gigs that I've shot this year, one for Netflix, another for one of the local broadcasters. So that's nice. That'll come out next year. Hopefully give me some more work. That'd be good. And I am also working on, I'm actually, one more series of Walking Shadows was shot last year and just released about a month ago, actually. So that will get put out onto the circuit and out properly into the world over next year. So that'll take some focus. But I'm also I'll be running, which I'm working on right now. I've heard Craig talk about writing a book. I'm actually writing a book about performing Shakespeare for actors, because I get asked all the time about it. So I'm going to put it into a book, which I'm working on at the moment, which will get released next year at some point. And what else am I doing? Oh, yeah, working on a murder mystery series, because I'm actually a writer myself as well. So that'll be fun. No more adapting, actually doing the writing from scratch. That'll be exciting. So yeah, which who knows how that's playing out. At the moment, we're probably web series, but it's likely to also be something we want to pitch to broadcasters. So we'll just see how that plays.
Okay, thank you. Elena.
Hey, so for Rosemary Street, we are going to be launching episodes 1, 2, and 3 before Christmas. And then in the process, we're also filming episodes 4 and 5. And then in the process, we're also having meetings with lots of different people. And hopefully we will be filming episodes 6 through 12 in 2025. So that's what we're trying to do. Meanwhile, writing them, so and all that kind of stuff. And at the same time, I'm closing up B&M WebFest. So B&M WebFest will have the full list of winners and everything on the website by Sunday. So everyone look out for that on Sunday. And I just want to say that B&M WebFest loves New Zealand. We love you.
Thank you. All right. Yes, I've sort of given what's gone on in the States this week. I'm going to wonder whether we're going to start seeing the kind of headlines that we saw in 2016, with a very large spike of inquiries to Immigration New Zealand about how easy it is to move here. But we'll see. All right. Thank you very much to all of you for joining us, and good luck with your nomination or nominations at the awards tomorrow. And we hope we'll see some of you there. But all the best for everything you're doing, and thank you for being with us today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Keith.